Welcome to Rye Tri Club Finish Line Files. Today we have our very own Ken Harris, who's fresh off of Worlds in Pontevedra, Spain. All right, Ken, tell us, what was that course like?
Ah. Oh, one for the books. I think it's the top of the list in regard to one of the toughest races I've ever done. Not because of the course, the swim and the bike, but just the heat. It was just intense. The closest that I've done to that was 2 years ago. As you remember, the heat was 3 years ago, that was at Lake Placid. And that was, people were dropping like flies, like 25% dropout rate. But this was it just mid-afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock, the heat just hit you and it just sent everybody dropping like flies. It's just amazing to see everybody, those who persevered and did the nutrition right, got through it. But it was a survival.
What was it? It was like a super humid and like 97
90,
degree heat
90,
index, did you
it
say?
was 93 degrees and 82% humidity.
That's crazy. So now
Yeah.
let's go positive. What was your favorite part of the race?
The
Favorite
race.
moment?
Oh, I think it was moments beforehand. I think the day before was just being around the people. The atmosphere, as you and I both were in Ibiza, was very different. It was centralized. A lot of people around, all the different races that were going on, and it was there was a couple of different pre-race experiences that I had that were just phenomenal. I met up with some of the Irish team. There was one girl who was 18 years of age, McDonald from Donegal, and offshore from Derry. And just to see her light up in regard to when we were just talking was just that, to me, was just that antithesis was all about triathlons. There was somebody getting into the sport and that she was very much a novice and was just soaking up information. And
So great.
it was nice. It was nice to play it forward to her and just, yeah, just calm down, just take it nice and easy, just enjoy it. And our first time, our first world. So
That's so
I
fantastic. How many countries and how many athletes do you know?
I think overall there was 4,800 over the 8 days,
Wow, that's like double these days.
which is
Huge,
which is a lot. I
huge.
think that was up by, I think, 1,200 from Ibiza.
Yeah. So what was the hardest part of the course? The swim, bike, or the run, and why? Sorry, no run. Aqua bike,
No
so
run for
swim,
me.
bike. And
Yeah,
let's
no
just
run
set
for
the
me.
distances because this is not USAT distance. This is done by the world governing body, International Triathlon Union, ITU. So the distances are slightly different. So what was the
Yes.
swim distance?
Long course is 1.8 mile swim, 75-mile bike, and an 18.6 run. So
So
it's
you
a
did the aqua bike. So you did a sly of
like
two
it's
mile.
yeah, it's a three-quarter Ironman.
Yeah.
And
So where was the swim? Was it in a open
in
body
a
of
river.
water?
It was in a river. So the river is had a severe current. So the day previously, I did what, under 7 minutes for 500 on a practice swim. And you turn around and it was like 9.5 coming back. So
Ouch.
you knew the current, but the great thing about it, and I encourage people is in the club, is to get on an open water swim and experience this. For me, I was able to experience all that and able to it seize the moment because I knew what a current was like. There was an awful lot of athletes there who didn't. And that current was fierce. We were going down on the day, we were going down at 128s and coming back at, I think, a clock to 223, 224.
Oh.
It really, the current was quite noticeable. And you could see it as everybody started off underneath the bridge, and it was just like you were gone underneath the bridge, but coming back, you could see the athletes and you could see the water as they were coming up and they were stroking up, the water was going back behind them. It was that the current was that strong. And it was just like you had to just try and get in behind somebody and draft as best as you possibly could. And when races like that, the testosterone is just through the roof and everybody's just pushing and pushing. It's exciting, but it's also terrifying in its own sense. But it's just you just have to manage your swim as best as you possibly can. And everybody's all over the place. They're like,
So naturally, the hardest part of that current was as you went back, the second half.
yeah. So
Of
you
course.
went put it a little bit, and no, well, you went up with it because the tide was going out, so the river current was taking the void was pulling you out. But then when you turned around, you had 1,500 meters, a full metric mile to go all the way down, and it curved, and it was just it was yeah, it was pretty tough, you know. I think out after you just please let me just get, and it was so on my Garmin it was 200 meters over, so you kind of a little bit extra to do, but you know what, it is what it was for everyone. But you got out.
But good that you knew you were in a current. I'm not that good about picking up when I've got currents going, and so it's good. You are really good at that, I've noticed. So that's brutal.
But what I found was just like you have to change your stroke to adapt to the current. Eugene Doherty, Lord rest him, a couple of years ago said just reach out another 6 inches. And I was just took it slower and just reach out that other 6 inches to grab a little bit more water. But again, you don't know that until you experience it. And if you experience it, like going out on the Thursday night swims, when you're up against it in a race, most of our races are in lakes or freshwater bodies, but you're going to get that in certain races. You got to be ready for it. And
Yeah.
luckily, thanks be to God, I was ready for it.
Very big, different outdoor water swim. So did anything unexpected happen on race day? You were ready for the currents, but anything that showed up that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, nearly fainting on the bike.
Oh, okay, tell us about that.
My
How do you
strategy.
nearly faint on a bike? That seems like it's an all or none gig.
So the bike was 3 loops, 25 miles each. And from the start, you climb. And it is, what was it, 1,700 feet of climbing over 12, 13 miles. So it's a considerable amount of climbing as you climb up this mountain. But the roads, it wasn't very windy and twisty, but it was long and steady, and you could see it right in front of you. You could see for at least a half a mile. So my strategy was the first lap was like when I felt good, just back up and just okay, I knew it was going to be warm, but the second loop, I had said I was going to step it up a gear or so, and I on the second loop I could feel that it was getting hot. It was getting abnormally hot. So I said, look, just let's just stay here. Just when we feel it, take the downhills. But on the third lap, I got my nutrition on the third lap, and I was conscious of that very much so in the race, how much nutrition I was doing. I nailed it this time for the first time in what well, going back 15 years. The first race that I nailed, and I'm glad that I did because in the conditions that it was batshit crazy, and it was just like you had to constantly be in tune of what was going on the outside. So when I changed over and got the special needs on the third lap, I could feel the heat. My feet started to burn, and it was like I was stepping on coals. My feet really, and I'd never experienced that before.
This
And
is
that
while
was
you're cycling, your feet are burning. You're not running.
no cycling. And so the heat coming off the pavement was picking up, and the carbon was getting hot underneath the pedals.
What time of day are we talking? What time of day was it when you finished? Was it
2, 3.
afternoon?
Yeah, but this is the third lap. We're right in the midst of the heat. That's the highest. If you ever look at on the Weather Channel, you'll see it's 2 or 3 o'clock. And so you get past this feeding station up the biggest part of the hill, and you turn onto the next set to go up. And there's a climb probably about 15, 16%. It's short, but it's sharp. It's like Burring Hill. And I got to the top of it, and I usually try and push that, get to the top of it, ease up, get back into your gear. And that's where I felt like I was going to faint. And I go, okay, something's going on here. I made sure my electrolytes were good. I was taking the salt. I was taking the water from the feed stations, and I was pouring it on me, and I was filling my bottles whatever I could. And I made sure to hydrate, but also take electrolytes, the salt along with it. And I knew I said something's off here. And I took some salt, and immediately it had a reaction to me. It was just like, okay, it stabilized me. And that's where I knew, okay, the third lap was survival. The third lap was not, the race was out the door. And the third lap is about survival. And you had to survive the conditions that you're in. And that was very new for me because then you're normally coming off in a race, you're normally coming off, you're trying to survive to get to, in many ways, just to get to the run. Here you were surviving just to stay on the bike. And people were dropping like flies past Japanese, Dutch, all there was a couple of Americans, just all dropping like flies.
You mean
Because
like medical tent dropping, like they weren't
yeah,
finishing the race?
they were pulling up. The EMS were all pulling up against, and just they were just there trying to hydrate them and just cool them down. It was pretty tough. But those are the conditions for everybody. You have to be
Yeah.
ready.
So the fueling, the electrolytes, but also the salt was the key thing that you had,
The
which I
salt, do
have to
some
add.
salt with you because even though you can have the nutrition in your bottles, it's if this abnormal situation occurs to you, the salt is the key thing. I looked down at my shorts, at my Team USA shorts, and I could see the white on them. And I knew at that particular point I was pumping it out. So if I'm pumping it out and it was coming out through me in my pores, I needed to replenish that. Now, the balance is always not doing too much. It's like you overhydrate, you can over electrolytes in your system.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that. And how you understand that for me is through training. You
Yep.
have to put yourself out there. You have to make yourself vulnerable in training conditions to do that. I take things pretty easy, but you have to really listen to what's going on. And it was just, you come off the mountain. I was literally getting my shorts and pulling them aside just to try and get the core temperature down at some points. And these downhills are just like, it was forgetting about how fast you were going or whatever it is. It was just trying to survive and just not have that feeling again. And then on the second and third lap, as you go out on the flats and you're heading out towards the Atlantic, the wind picked up. So if anybody's ever done Lake Placid or anything like that, and that wind picks up at Whiteface, that can really destroy you. And this wind picked up. And there's no drafting, but on the way back, I just put my head down and that's just emptied the tank. But it was,
We'll leave that you take things pretty easy comment for another conversation.
you
So
know what I'm
we only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to hit it forward. How did this race compare to previous world championships you've done?
Oh, off the charts, off the charts. It's an experience that I would love everybody to just get out there to your nationals. Go to Milwaukee, go down to Daytona. This year is down in Kentucky. Just go do it, and just put yourself in the realm to go to World Championships and feel what it's like to be amongst the elite. And you're just like everybody's around. Everybody's in a great mood. There was Australians, there was Kiwis, there was the Japanese, Koreans, Egyptians. It was all over the world. You could see them, Ukrainians all over the world were just there, and you'd meet them for breakfast and you just chat with them and you just say hello, and it was that atmosphere, and it's just that you're amongst family type of scenario, the triathletes and all the rest. And going back to the Irish crew, they didn't have any managers, they didn't have any captains, they had nothing. And the
What's
number
with
one
those Irish?
the number one girl in the world is Irish now. And and they have it's phenomenal. And it reminded me how well USAT is funded. They are stretched. Tim is all the rest are very much stretched. It's an experience, I would say, for people who are in the club who have done it before, is to play it forward and tell people it is just a wonderful place to be. I was very fortunate, very humbled, and very grateful to become captain. And it gave me the opportunity to get around everybody, but also listen to what they wanted to do in regard to it, what their experience was. We were in the airport yesterday coming back, and Gwen was just like, it was one of the best experiences I ever had. And she's done it, I think she said 8 times.
That's
So,
great.
it's a wonderful experience, and it really solidifies your hard work.
It is fun to see everybody in their country's kits. That just does it. And then to be on the course and have somebody go by it from your team, really amazing. So how did you recover from this? Celebrate post-race recovery. What was it?
It went sideways. My bags were left in Madrid, so I'm still waiting for them to come. I'm back here
Not
in Ireland.
celebratory.
I'm going down to Southern Ireland with my cousin, who's a fantastic cyclist. We're going to go cycling down there. So I'm still waiting for my bike and stuff to show up. The
Haircut.
recovery, I just took it nice and easy. My mind was off the recovery yesterday because trying to figure out where bags and all the rest is. And I think it's just walking around and I'm ready for the next adventure down in Kerry. And it's going to be over this crazy mountain. But it's just sitting back and just saying, we did the work. Now, what's the next challenge? And it's just eating and just being part of recovery and just like giving yourself a break.
Any advice for first timers dreaming of qualifying for Worlds one day?
Really, just there's nothing beyond what you think you can do. There's everything is out there to do it. I never thought, we look back 13 years ago, I was told that I would never bike again. And I'm at Worlds. It blows my mind in regard to something like that, because it's just like anything is achievable if you put your mind to it.
And
Anything. And
And you
yeah,
learned to swim.
that's the other thing. I learned how to swim. I wouldn't be here only for the likes of Ray Kelly and people who encouraged me through to learn how to swim. And it's just the gift of that has been just tremendous. So it's don't ever think that you can't do something. The opportunity is there for everyone to qualify for world championships. It's not beyond the bounds of reasonable possibility. And if you're willing to put a little bit of work into it, you can do it.
What's next on your race calendar? You taking a break?
Nope. 3 weeks, I'm into 70.3 in Maine. So
There you go.
gotta
All
start
right,
running.
Mr. Ken Harris, let's see that medal. Come on. Show it to the group.
There it is.
There you go. The beautiful front side and on the back side with the name and place engraved. That takes some doing. Very
So
impressive.
I'm very happy to get 11th in my age group. Over the moon about that because a couple of years ago I was a little bit further down the field, and this year I didn't train as well. I had a serious health issue at the beginning of the year, a back injury, and I didn't feel that I was ready. But when I had a plan and I stuck to it, and things went sideways, it's just like you adapt. And that's the thing about I think triathlons is that you're challenged to adapt. If you're willing enough to say, okay, something I've seen athletes, I've seen more athletes and you have too, it's seen they can't adapt to something that comes out of left field. That's what triathlons are about. Are you willing to adapt to the conditions or a flat or something that may occur on the day? That's the winning. That's the winning is like, where can I the training allows you training is to train for these situations is to train for when you are really in a dark place, like that 6 inches we talk about between your ears. That's the worst distance you can travel. You get in it, get in there, get the hell out because it's a bank robbery. You're taking hostages if you don't. And it's if you can master that when you're out in training, you won.
There you go. It's about the journey.
It
Thank you
certainly
so much, Ken. Great to have you on Finish Line Files. We'll see you out on the training course.
get out there and do it.